Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very grateful for the comments of my colleagues on the council tonight, and also the presentation that we've had an opportunity to listen to. I realize that we all have differing opinions on this particular proposal, and I'm grateful that we've even had an opportunity to have a public debate this evening on the subject. That being said, I had a few comments that I wanted to share this evening regarding the proposal. I've spent some time thinking about it and doing some research as well. And preparing for tonight's meeting, I actually did some reflection and thought about a lot of the family road trips that I took growing up as a kid. And I can remember going across the state, going to other parts of the country, and whenever we were coming back home, we were really anxious to get home. And there were two things that will always welcome me back to the state of Michigan. The first was the Welcome to Michigan sign, which always gave me a sense of great pride. But as soon as you crossed the state line, you'd end up hitting a pothole. And one of my relatives would always quip and say, well, I guess we're back in Michigan now. So road funding and our road infrastructure has always been an issue in this state. That being said, just as our roads are crumbling, so is our funding mechanism for paying for the roads. And under the current system, when you go to the gas station to fill up your car, only half of the taxes that you're paying actually go to roads. Currently, the other half go to our schools and to our local government and to other means. And so the system is currently somewhat broken, and we cannot continue along the same stream and even maintain the roads that we currently have. And so, as has been indicated in the presentation and some of the literature that's out there, the state will need an additional $1.2 billion in revenue in order to keep pace with repairing and maintaining the roads. Now, I agree that this particular proposal is very complex, it's very convoluted, and some might say it's even crazy. But I think it is workable. And I say that because the proposed plan essentially, even though there are a lot of different pieces, we're essentially talking about three main components. The first is we're repairing the broken sales tax formula on our gas tax and replacing it with a new formula that is dedicated specifically to transportation and roads. And so no longer will your taxes be diverted when you fill up at the pump. It'll go strictly to roads and to transit. But in order to do that, you're essentially getting rid of the local funding. And so there's a hole there. And so the second thing that the proposal does is that it makes our schools and our local governments whole by increasing that sales tax by 1 penny. And then the last part is that the sales tax is regressive and impacts a lot of families in a negative way. And so in order to offset that, we also have an extension of the earned income tax credit, which will help our lower income families. And so the net impact of that is not only a $1.25 billion for roads and bridges, but I think what's most important when you look at a local perspective is that you would have $300 million for schools and an additional $94 million for local government via state constitutional revenue sharing. And this, as Mr. Bomas pointed out, is about a 60% increase over the long term. And then there's $260 million in tax relief. So even though there's a sales tax increase, many residents would actually see that come back with the tax relief that is part of the package. I realize that it's easy to be skeptical of this plan because there's so much in it. But I also think it's also difficult to raise taxes even for road improvements. But as I look through it, I think it's very necessary. And that's why the Michigan Municipal League is supporting it. That's why they've encouraged municipal governments all over the state to support this proposal. And tonight our council has the ability to join the effort and help our residents to understand what's in the proposal and why it's actually important. Just in closing, I think it's unfortunate that the state that put our nation on wheels has some of the worst roads in the country. And it's been said that there is no plan B. I watched this go through the legislative process from my work in the budget office, from Watching the lame duck session, the governor called for this 2 years ago, and we didn't get anything until the very end of last year's session. If this doesn't go through, what I and several other individuals fear is that we'll get something at the end of 2016, at the end of lame duck, that will be worse than what we currently have, that won't make local governments whole, that won't make schools whole, that won't help out families with the tax relief. And so, yes, our legislator could have come up with a much better proposal, but I don't think that we ought to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And so, while I respect my colleagues' opinions, I still urge you to support the resolution, and I urge our residents to support Proposal 1 because it's well past time that we actually do something to fix our roads and not let them continue to crumble. Thank you.